Story 1. Lifetime warranties were designed to last for a lifetime, and durability was a key selling point for most products. Story 2. Search engines were unreliable in the early internet era, but Google came along and revolutionized everything. Peak search engine reliability was likely in the mid-2010s, and it has been in a steep decline since then. Nowadays, when I search for anything on Google, it omits random keywords, provides irrelevant AI-generated answers, shows Pinterest images, and displays unrelated PDF files from things I did not search for. YouTube search is not much better. After searching for a video, it often shows 3 results followed by people also watched and finish watching, along with a collection of unrelated short videos and late-night show clips for no clear reason. Story 3. Check the Buy It for Life subreddit for numerous examples, but I'll give you one. My torrid clothes from the 2000s are still going strong, while the items I purchased last year have snags and holes in them. Story 4. Jeans. I can feel how thin the denim is and how much faster they have worn away in the thighs, yet the price for some designers has nearly doubled. Story 5. I want 100% cotton denim pants with tags that specify the waist and inseam measurements. No polyester blend, no stretch fit, and no tags indicating a 34-inch waistband when they are actually 38 inches. Story 6. Strawberries have been domesticated to be bigger, but now they are much less sweet. They used to be bright red and very sweet. I would do anything for an original strawberry right now. Story 7. I've noticed that Reddit is increasingly including ads in the comments section, which is ruining my experience. Many people suggest using an ad blocker, but I shouldn't have to rely on another product. The issue is that Reddit has become so overloaded with ads that it negatively affects the basic experience. The problem lies with Reddit and, by extension, the internet as a whole. Story 8. Pyrex is known for its borosilicate glass, which is highly resistant to heat stress, making it ideal for kitchen use. The newer versions are made of tempered soda lime glass, which is stronger if dropped but can shatter unexpectedly under certain heat-related conditions. For example, placing a cold Pyrex dish in the oven or a hot one under tap water can lead to breaking, issues that were not typically encountered with the old Pyrex. Story 9. Everything on Amazon is made by one of these Chinese companies that change names whenever their reviews become unfavorable. Nothing they produce lasts very long, and it often does not perform as advertised. Story 10. Obscure skateboard bearings. I have some NMB and NSK bearings that I put in my son's skateboard. I got them secondhand 40 years ago. Story 11. Tomatoes. When I was a kid in the 1970s, they were sweet, flavorful, and delicious. You could just cut one open, sprinkle a little salt on it, and take a bite with satisfaction. Tomatoes these days are hard and flavorless. Story 12. Fast food used to be delicious, offered good portion sizes, was fairly inexpensive, and was indeed fast. Now, for example, I sit in a drive-thru for 20 minutes at Taco Bell. My burrito supreme costs around $8 and is the size of a tornado snack you get at convenience stores, tasting like bad grease. This is not an attack on the employees, but more on the management that makes these decisions. Story 13. We lost our 20-year-old solid metal stapler, and all the new replacements were cheap plastic. I finally went online and bought one identical to the one we lost because I couldn't deal with the plastic version. If it can't be used as a weapon, it isn't sturdy enough. Story 14. Oreo cookies have changed over the years. The double-stuffed version is now the same thickness as the original cookies from 20 years ago, while the regular version has only a thin layer of cream between the cookies. This is a clear example of shrinkflation. Story 15. I have a KitchenAid stand mixer that I was gifted in 1999. It is an absolute tank and is still going strong 25 years later. I have used newer models, and they just don't last compared to the old versions. Story 16. When the Magic Eraser foam block scrubbers came out, they were amazing. Just wet one, and it scrubbed years of carbon buildup from my stovetop. I got months of heavy use out of each one. However, a year or two after they were introduced, the quality nosedived. They tear apart and deteriorate after the first use. Story 17. Kids' toys. My parents have toys from their childhood that also survived mine and are still going strong. When I buy something for my kids, it breaks within weeks. I know my kids are high energy, but so were my siblings, and we didn't destroy things at this rate. Story 18. Plastic disposable utensils. The hospital I work for has a cafeteria that only provides plastic utensils. The knives do not cut meat and bend into a U shape with hot foods. I am also certain I have swallowed a few prong tips from forks that break off while eating. Story 19. Pretty much everything online is disappointing. Every physical object sold is of poor quality now. It used to be that most products available in stores were subpar, but if you conducted research and purchased something specific online, you could find durable items. Now, even with research, when you buy something specific, you often end up with a low-quality product, and now it connects to Wi-Fi for some inexplicable reason. Story 20. It's not just one specific item. I've been saying over the past few years how I miss seeing hand-carved designs. Looking at older buildings, cathedrals, or even furniture, you can see that carpenters used to spend weeks hand-carving their masterpieces. Everything had intricate designs based on the region or the century they were in. Now everything looks mass-produced, flat, symmetrical, and lifeless. Everything seems indistinguishable from one another. But in the past, artisans crafted cherubs and filigree into works made of stone, marble, and wood. Story 21. Houses. You used to build houses for yourself and your family, investing in materials that would last over time. Now, construction focuses on flipping or selling, and the corners cut in design and execution are astounding. Story 22. Heated blankets. My grandma's from 1993 is still a fire hazard, and mine from 2021 from Costco isn't working on one side now. Story 23. Bad. Car windshields are thinner and break more often. Good. Brussels sprouts have been bred to be less bitter. Story 24. Snapple drinks. The glass bottle gave it that unique Snapple flavor. This was inspired by a post I saw last week about changes made to food and drinks. Story 25. Pringles are brittle and translucent. They used to be thicker and tastier. You can't even make duck bills with them anymore. They just break. Story 26. Animal crackers. I just had some today, bought on a nostalgic whim, and I can't get over how small, thin, and bland they are. I'm referring to the name brand Barnum Style. Story 27. Toys. Going down the toy aisle nowadays is disheartening. Very few of the original brands still exist and remain true to their name, looking at you Lego, but becoming quite pricey. Most others have either faded away or rebranded, resulting in a significant drop in quality. Story 28. I just got a large toolbox full of 1970s steel tools made before the mills closed. They are in perfect condition and will last another 50 years. Story 29. My grandpa gave me some of his tools before he passed away. I have a power sander from the early 1980s. That tool is amazing. It's the best sander I've ever had. I also had one that I purchased in 2018, but it was disappointing in comparison. Story 30. Cotton t-shirts used to last for years. Now they do not hold up and begin to get small holes within 6 months to a year. Story 31. Refrigerators, washing machines, and other major appliances are designed with planned obsolescence, meaning you spend the same amount of money but receive a less reliable product that may only last 2 or 3 years. This is due to corporate greed and a lack of concern for consumers and the environment. Story 32. My expensive charging vacuum broke. It lasted 4 years of daily vacuuming for a dog with a disability. My mom let me borrow her very old Orec while I waited for my new vacuum, and it did a better job than mine ever did. I am definitely going back to using plug-in vacuums. Story 33. Anything accessible to normal working people has become cheaply made and poorly designed. Sure, you can still find exceptional quality, but I don't like having to choose between feeding my family and getting something nicer for myself. I have a full-time job in a school and I work a second job to pay the bills. I have replaced many items that are just designed for failure. Coffee makers aren't that great anymore. My old Mr. Coffee was a workhorse. The new one is okay but is already wearing out. I will say Timex watches still seem to be of the same standard. Yes, they are cheap but also reliable. Story 34. Craftsman tools were among the best available from the 1950s to the 1970s and came with a lifetime guarantee. Now, they are considered low quality and not even comparable to tools from Harbor Freight. Story 35. My family had the same General Electric microwave for about 16 years. I finally stopped heating food. I discovered that they still produce that exact microwave, so I purchased it. Within a month, the buttons broke. The new unit lacks features that the old one had. It is already making grinding, clicking, and groaning sounds. It won't last a year, let alone 16. Story 36. Levi's. The pair I had as a teenager lasted for years. The most recent ones developed holes in several places after just a few months. Story 37. Fast food. To be honest, I'm not saying it was healthy, even though it might have been less unhealthy, but the quality has declined even further. Story 38. Politicians. It used to be that if you sexually assaulted someone or had a felony, your political career was essentially over. Story 39. TV seasons used to have 20 to 24 episodes each year. Now, we get 6 to 10 episode seasons that feel more like long movies, sometimes reappearing every few years. It's frustrating. I want a show I can binge for a long time, but so many series get canceled before they finish their first short season. Story 40. I bought underwear 2 years ago that is still in great shape. I have been losing weight and needed to go down a size. I bought the same brand 2 months ago, and half of them are coming apart at the seams. Story 41. This response will be different, but it relates to a rancher or farmer. Today, our 68-year-old neighbor suddenly passed away. He leaves behind a beautiful ranch, his knowledge, and all the people whose lives he touched. We are uncertain about who will inherit his ranch since he has one son who lives far away. I pray that someone from the community will take it over and cherish it. No one is like him anymore, but we can try. Story 42. Fridges. Many people have one that has been running well since the 1980s in their garage, and a nicer one in their kitchen that is likely to stop working shortly after the warranty expires. Story 43. Furniture is challenging to find when you're looking for something durable that won't break within a specific time frame. Story 44. I have a picture of my mother feeding me as a baby, and in the background is a rice cooker my dad won in a raffle while living in Japan. My mom still uses it weekly. I'm 60. Story 45. Bottles of glass soda were the best. This plastic is just not the same. Things are no longer made in the USA. We used to have great products, but then greed took over, and now you can't find a television made here, let alone a computer or most clothing. Story 46. Close your eyes, spin in a few circles, point your finger, and then open your eyes. Chances are that whatever you are pointing at was not made the way it used to be. Story 47. McDonald's fries were better before they switched from tallow to vegetable oil. There is a notable episode of Malcolm Gladwell's Revisionist History that discusses this change. The fries are vegetarian now, which is good, but the flavor isn't as great. I also haven't had McDonald's in over a decade, as I'm not a huge fast food eater these days. Story 48. Doc Martens boots. I still have mine from the 1990s, made in the United Kingdom. Some I purchased around 2010, made in China, are very sturdy but of lesser quality overall. Story 49. Binders and other school supplies are cheaper and less durable because companies are trying to maximize their profits. Story 50. The political parties before 2016. I miss when people voting for someone was not their entire identity. It was like you voted for Mitch or John, sure. You voted for John or Hillary, okay. Now it seems that depending on who you vote for can affect your job and how people perceive you. Now celebrities voting for one party risk their careers, and the same goes for your coworkers. I miss the attitude of I dislike both, but okay. And people would just move on. Story 51. In many places, houses are being built. A mix of housing booms and population growth has led to a reliance on mass-produced lumber that is significantly lower in quality. Story 52. KitchenAid mixers are quite expensive now, and mine broke the first time I made focaccia. It was less than a year old and had only been used a handful of times. Thankfully, I have a handy neighbor who could fix it. My grandmother's mixer is a reliable workhorse and would never break a gear just because of high hydration though. Story 53. My original 1974 air conditioning unit had to be replaced last summer. The new one comes with a 3-year warranty. There is no chance that the new unit will last more than 10 years, let alone 50 years like the original. Story 54. Houses. My 19th century Victorian looks so delicate, but it is a strong house. The craftsmanship is stunning, with many handcrafted details that a machine could never replicate. Story 55. Shoes. If you are unwilling to spend over $200, you will get plastic shoes that, if you are lucky, will last a year. From sneakers and loafers to boots and heels, the woven sneaker material with plastic molded soles has its counterpart in the disposable slub knit t-shirts, designed to be replaced frequently and destined to contribute to landfill accumulation. Story 56. Pyrex was originally made of ultra-low thermal expansion borosilicate glass, allowing it to be used like metal for roasting and baking while retaining heat like cast iron. Today, it is made with less expensive lithium silicate glass, which still resists heat well, but is more prone to shattering from thermal shock if the temperature change is too sudden. Story 57. My air conditioning installer is over 80. He has a stepladder that he has owned longer than my kids have been alive. The top step, which you are not supposed to stand on, has a hole for your drill to securely rest, 3 holes for screwdrivers, and 2 spots for loose screws. It is bright yellow on the top instead of black. It seems like a remarkably smart design, but he cannot buy a new or taller one for reasons neither of us can understand. Story 58. Food quality has significantly declined in the past decade. I find myself throwing out more items that either spoil faster or seem off, and I don't want to risk eating them. Story 59. Have you ever noticed how much new pans lack quality, while the vintage ones are far superior? Story 60. Any consumer electronics. Most brands have realized that technology, at least in the past, moved quickly enough that the new model they release every year has just enough improvements over the previous one to drive sales. This has led to a decreased focus on longevity. Story 61. I have a 4-inch steel desk fan built in 1946, weighing about 3 pounds. It still works perfectly with almost daily use. Story 62. My biggest complaint recently has been about the quality of nearly everything. I have items from my mother that will outlive most of the disposable products available today. Everything from dishes, cookware, clothing, blankets, furniture, and even decor. My mother gave me a collection of her decorations from the 1990s, and they are much sturdier. Nowadays, everything seems to be made of cheap plastic and hot glue, and I won't feel guilty about losing interest in and throwing out items because they were inexpensive. I would like to have some things that I can pass down to potential future children, nieces, nephews, or cousins, but none of it seems to last that long. Story 63. Tonka dump trucks are now made entirely of plastic, except for a metal dumping bed. The ones I grew up with in the 1970s were made of 100% steel, except for the wheels and some other small parts. The chassis, cab, body, and bed were constructed from sheet steel that was punched and folded. These trucks could be thrown off a cliff, kicked across the yard, and left outside all summer and winter, and they would last for decades. I bet one of the new plastic trucks would fade and crack into pieces after just one summer in Arizona. Story 64. I have been collecting video games since the 1980s. My Sega Master System from 1985 is still functioning well. Every console up until the early 2000s is still working great. Everything released since then has broken and required replacement at some point. Story 65. Architecture. Builders of the past created stunning works of art with a fraction of the money and even less technology. Yet here we are producing unattractive bricks and pretentious geometric designs. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.